Hey, let's bring in Dion. Let's see how he's doing,
Go
man.
Dion.
Let's get a mental health check. Like, Dion, how you doing? How's the mic?
Hey man, we over here struggling. How do I sound? Do I sound
there
crazy?
it is.
No,
You
you're
sound
good.
fine.
You're good.
Okay.
Hey.
Hey, I apologize, man. I have that issue too. I don't know what that is. I'm glad we're back.
You're good. I wanted to say something, be like, hey, Dion, but I didn't want to interrupt you. So I was like, I'll let him talk, and then I'll say something. Probably should have just said something. But regardless.
No,
hey, Dion, so
just cut me off.
Yeah, I'll just do that next time. But Dion, like you were saying, I want to follow up on that because you were talking, like you were getting to something that we talked about earlier, which is last year Lions struggled to run the football, and it wasn't just the playoff game. They did this in Tampa as well. It's something consistent. The Bucs front seven. How do you at least in your eyes this week, an opportunity for the passing offense? And I know Jameson went off, but Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta, these guys to bounce back. Antoine Winfield missing a couple weeks. I think it's a good opportunity for this passing offense to start clicking again, and Jared to look like Jared as opposed to last week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. You know, I caught kind of when I was jumping in here, you guys talking about that game, and for me, it was the beginning of the game it just felt like a little off. Everything kind of just felt off at the beginning there. Like I thought for Goff's sake, one, I felt like his internal clock was just like firing on all cylinders. Like we gave up the immediate sack. We have a blown stunt to get things started with. But then outside of that, like the next drive, it just felt like he was processing incredibly fast, like where it was like, oh, I got to get this ball to my hands, when he had a little bit more time to kind of relax. And then because of that, I thought his eyes weren't always the best. Like it was like he was just kind of caught staring at something, and things weren't just as fluid. Things didn't feel natural until the game kind of rolled along. But I will say the positive flip is, obviously, like you said, Jameson it was kind of like here's Jameson last time he played Tampa Bay. And
Right.
in this game specifically for Jared Goff, it was the trust that he had just to let it go. Like he let it rip a couple times. Even the one that he threw that was, kind of ended up double coverage because the safety kind of played him a little bit, but he was willing to just let it go. And I love that because, there were times last year where it felt like, okay, we were hitting the big play, but it was definitely by design. It was like, this is the design to get the ball here. In this game, it was like, hey, you're one-on-one. I'm going to go to that. The safety moved. I'm going to you. And it got to that point where it felt like the DJ Sharks when he was here, and to where Josh Reynolds was just in his own way, that he was just willing to throw it and say, that guy's going to go win for me. So I'm with you. I think it's a much better spot, for St. Brown and those guys to get rolling. I thought LA did a great job. They were blitzing our play action sets, and then they were getting great depth from their linebackers. And I thought they brought some things they did last year that gave us some struggles as well. But it was also a great opportunity to just kind of see things emerge into like, hey, Jameson Williams is capable of picking up that slack, because that's the question we've had. We saw, just to go to a side game real quick, like when we played Chicago last year, I thought that was a big issue. It was like, hey, they're going to make us win outside the numbers. Baltimore did the same thing. And it was cool to see a guy that can predominantly align outside the numbers, that we could just trust him to go win. And it got to that point where they just loved that matchup because that was the matchup on paper. So for me, I'm with you. I think that this is going to be a better game because it's going to be more fluid. But at the same time, Tampa Bay's defense is really darn good. And man, you love Todd Bowles. He's super creative defensively. So it's not like you're playing Carolina or something. Okay, like that. Sorry, Carolina. That was a disaster. I had to bring up Carolina. I had to find a take shot at.
Hey.
I don't know what that was. Tampa Bay's doing their thing defensively. Yeah,
hey.
You had to get one in there.
Hey, Dion, it's hard to beat those $1.80. What was it? $1.80 tickets. $1.80. I don't know if that's true or not.
I wouldn't even pay $1.80 to go watch the Panthers.
You can buy
doing
it.
Hey, Dion, I want other side of the ball though, on the defensive side of the ball for the Lions. It was something that I brought up yesterday, just with the secondary. Obviously, like you still have like Terrion, who's younger, who's a rookie, getting the hang of things. Carlton kind of fresh here in the Detroit scheme with AG, and same with D'Amico. What are your thoughts on the defense and kind of going into this week? Because I thought personally, I said it on the show today, I thought the front seven looked good. Like I was big on the way the defensive line looked, and I heard people around the city saying that they thought the defensive line didn't look good, which I was shocked about. But I felt like those front seven guys and those linebackers were absolutely elite in my mind. And just, what are your thoughts on the secondary? And do you think they're going to come around? Obviously, it might just take some time. What are your thoughts on that?
All right, hold up. Are those people around the city potentially on this show? We just got to check. I mean, it's just
not on the show. No, they might start. Last name might start with the V. The first name might be Mike. I don't know.
Okay. Well, you didn't have to do that. You could have.
You didn't have to do all that now.
It's on me, Dion. I apologize.
And it's all good. Look, for me, I'm 100% with you. If anything, it was the defensive line was so. Here's the thing that I think becomes the issue there, just a real quick touch on the D-line, is that when you don't get sacks, it's very easy to step back and think the defensive line's not doing their job. Now, I will say I thought LA ran the ball pretty well. And I'll give them credit there. Obviously, they've invested in the interior. They have some dudes in the interior. They got a lot of size, and we got moved around a little bit there at times. It's been great to have Reader in this one. So they leaned into that. They found success. When you talk about pass protection, pass rush, oh my goodness. And it was just everybody. Like, Aiden Hutchinson did Hutchinson things, and it was like, all right, that was expected. But at the same time, everybody else got involved. And to me, coming into that, that was like the biggest advantage on paper was that. And I thought it lived up to it completely. Like, I came in with high expectations and thought, like, this looks amazing, and we are just having everybody get involved in the action here. It's just that this offense is going to get the ball out too fast. They don't take a lot of sacks. And for whatever reason, Stafford's like one of those dudes where a lot of times it just doesn't bother him. And then it did it in a big moment, which was great. But in terms of the pass defense, the biggest difference to me was we made them earn everything this year. And that doesn't mean that they were perfect on everything, but like, let's say we would have gotten out like we did last season. We scored like 3 touchdowns on our first 3 drives. We do that in this game. I mean, this thing might be over early because we made them earn every single touchdown. Their one big play was a drag route that he made after the catch. It wasn't like we were giving shot plays. We were still trusting our guys one-on-one. I thought even more so maybe than last year. You know, we were putting those guys on an island. We did some straight zero coverage, which we didn't do at all last season against this team. So it was a combination of like we're trusting them in these spots, but at the same time, we're still not giving up the big plays. And then in the red zone, they still look good. And I point a lot of that to Aaron Glenn outside of the one where Carlton Davis slipped and fell. So for me, it was a lot of positives. Like this is one of the best. I think this is going to be one of the best offenses in football. I think this is going to be one of the better teams in football, one of the best teams in football. So for me, this was a fantastic showing because you threw the young guys right into the mix and all the new additions. They passed the eye test. Davenport, Carlton passed the eye test for you. And that's all you can ask for because they're proven and they're supposed to do that.
And Dion, you kind of just brought up when Tyler Johnson broke off like that 60-yard drag route, and most of it was yards after the catch. When you look at the Tampa Bay offense, I know you just brought up McMillan, who's the rookie out of Washington. Who do you think's the guy that you cannot let go off? Because it's one of those situations, again, where you have Cooper Kupp, you have Puka Nacua, you have Kyron Williams. One of those guys are going to go off. You got to try to limit somebody there. Who do you think the guy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the guy that needs to be limited the most in order for them to stay out of the game with the Lions?
That's a good question. So for me, I want to say Mike Evans, but I don't think you can just stop Mike Evans. I mean, that's the matchup to watch, of course, and because I was so impressed with how Carlton played week 1, that I want to see it. I think Carlton Davis could really slow him down if he just follows him around in this game. And he usually does well against bigger receivers. So I think in general, we could have a lot more success than maybe expected on Mike Evans. And what happened, I want to say Mike Evans because what happened last year was seemed like right before half and coming out of the half, they kind of brought their way back into it with just a couple splash plays where it was like, well, dang, that's just Mike Evans being Mike Evans. He just brought him back into it. He brought them to life. And all of a sudden it became a game really quick. So I want to say Evans, but a guy like, Trey Palmer last season where it was more expectation coming into it versus what reality was. But if you remember, he got over top multiple times and he didn't hit him in that game. And he's like the game-breaking piece. So for me, it would be one of those two because I don't really expect the run game to get going. I just don't expect it to really do anything in this game. But I would say, boring answer, it would be Mike Evans for me because I think Mike Evans is going to see a lot of Carlton. And I think if you slow down Mike Evans, you kind of take away the safety blanket. Everything comes into, hey, Baker Mayfield, he's going to be aggressive with the football. I expect us to get pressure. I expect us to stuff to run and get in positions where we're just going after him, teeing off on him. And once that happens, I think you get a couple of interceptions because the Mike Evans advantage will be one-on-one. I'm putting up, he's at least going to knock it down. Once he gets away from that, we're going to start taking the football away. That'd be my expectation. So I'll say Mike Evans, even though that's boring.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. And we talked a lot about the secondary and the gelling process that takes time. Lucas brought it up the other day, and I thought he was spot on. Give it to the bye week. I think the bye week is a good benchmark to see where the secondary's at. What about you? How much time are you willing to kind of wait and see and be like, all right, if they got to at least look the part by this game or this week? Where are you at with the secondary kind of gelling, and how long?
Yeah, no, I love the question. I'm gonna sound crazy. I'm honestly after week 1, I feel like we're there. Like, to be honest with you, hey, look, man, I'm after week 1. I'm like, that doesn't say it wasn't perfect, right? Like Taryn there was a couple up and downs, but I don't know like that I'll get to a point this season, right, where I'm like, he's going against Cooper Kupp and he's gonna take him out of the game. Like, I don't think that'll happen. Yeah. It'll be about like the small breakdowns, but I didn't think it was anything egregious. You had the Brian Branch one on the 4th down where it's like, okay, they're covering the same guy, but it was nothing that kept happening over and over. And it's like, oh man, they're getting some really bad spots here. I would say, though, for me, the biggest thing that I was excited for this pass defense is if you look at it statistically with Aaron Glenn, especially like since the second half of 2022, we've had the interceptions. We've gotten a lot of takeaways. Hopefully we get more, but we've gotten those. We've typically allowed a pretty low completion percentage to opposing teams. The issue has been big plays, and then it's been not getting enough, I think, hands on the football. Like, that's been the thing. It's like we might get an interception, and a lot of those come from the safety unit, which I think Brian Branch is just going to take a ton of footballs away this year. Kirby already's got one. But at cornerback, those are the guys that come up with the pass deflections. Those are the guys that create negatives. And really, that's what we've been lacking personnel-wise. Straight up. Like, you immediately put Carlton Davis into that, and you feel the impact. Even though you don't get all those clear-cut pass defended, you get the one in the end zone that's incomplete. You get the one to Cooper Kupp early where it's like, well, he was really long. He could have disrupted that on fourth down. That gets us off the field. You felt his impact immediately, and like, oh, he's long. This is different. We don't have this. Even Terrion's DPIs, which one of them I thought was a disaster. We don't have to go down that path, but he still was getting hands on the football. So to me, I look at it as I think I saw what I needed to see. I think that this coverage unit, gelling in terms of communication, those kind of things, and then like, hey, stepping in a run defense, all those little things, see those come together. But for me right now, what I'm hoping for, it's not to say they're the best secondary. I think that they've checked those boxes, and I'm really confident it's already there for the Lions.
Love it.
Hey, I want to throw this out there, Dion, just on the offensive side of the ball. I thought it was interesting, and I guess I want to know what your take was before the season going into it on the whole Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery thing, because we were kind of split here on the show through the preseason, and then when this happened on Sunday, where obviously David Montgomery was kind of the hot hand, especially in OT, but it feels like going into this year that they're sticking with like David Montgomery, bell cow back, 15+ carries, and getting Jahmyr in different situations. Do you like that, or do you think they should kind of even it out a little bit more and trying to get Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit more involved?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because to me, the biggest surprise, honestly, was the possession that we scored a touchdown and Jahmyr Gibbs handled the load. It was like him inside the 5-yard line, and he kept getting the football. As soon as we get there, I'm like, oh, it's Monty time. And it was like, nope, it's still Jahmyr Gibbs. And it was like, okay, I don't know why they're doing this. It doesn't seem to make sense, but they're doing it, and they trust him to do it, and he ended up paying it off, got a big third down conversion. So I thought for Jahmyr Gibbs, it was cool to see that he did the things that you don't think about with Gibbs. Like, he did the dirty work for us when we called upon him to do so. But I think you said it best. Like, and again, people probably don't want to hear that it's the hot hand kind of thing, but I think it's also then coming in with the plan. The way I would look at it as coming in with the plan of who you're facing. Like, for example, we're going to face Tampa Bay this weekend. I think it's going to be a Jahmyr Gibbs day. And that's because, well, really how last year went. First time we played that team, we had basically no rushing game whatsoever. The second time it opened up, Jahmyr Gibbs opened it up. And I think that's just because of how that team is built. They're built through the nose tackle. They're big on the inside. But everything towards the outside gives them some problems, slower linebackers, that kind of thing. So for me, I look at it as more of like, who are you playing and what are they good at? Like, so, this game when they started going early, they started getting outside those edge rushers versus then later, like you said, Monty just ran it downhill. They felt exhausted and the Lions were just beating them up. But I don't know how to perfectly answer this question, to be honest with you, because I think Gibbs showed the versatility, but I also think that it's really just going to come down to what's the team good at and what are they not good at run defensively. And then you lean into that guy that fits that mold for you.
I wanted to, just for the chat real quick, I say Montgomery. It's Montgomery. That's on me, people. It's on me. I'm learning. I'm trying to figure out how to speak over here still. It's on me. I'm just going to say Monty going forward.
All good, Boone. All good. I mean, me, Dion, personally, I would have wished to see a little bit more Jahmyr Gibbs in that game, but at the end of the day, Lions won. I'm not going to complain. I think something that all Lions fans wanted to see was more than 3 catches and 13 yards from Amon-Ra St. Brown. When you look at the secondary from the Bucs, potentially no Antoine Winfield, but they still have a very good front seven. Jamel Dean's still a very good corner, but he's usually on the outside. What do you expect to see from Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially coming off what we all believe is his career worst game so far?
It's so weird. It's so weird, by the way. Like, I was thinking about that today, too. I was like, man, it was really like the first half of his rookie season that he had something like this. I don't even know if he did in the first half, but it's been a long time since you just like, St. Brown's not doing anything. For me, okay, real quick, actually, let me not go back to that because I'm going to forget what I'm going to say. So for me with Amon-Ra St. Brown in this one, I definitely expect him to be more productive just because it's kind of like just bet on it. Like, don't bet that he's going to have 2 games where he's not very involved. That just doesn't make any sense. And also we had guys slipping around like left and right, which kind of threw things off a little bit. But yeah, I think he'll get going in this game because, like what you're saying, they're very physical. They're big on the outside. They're big at cornerback there. And even though, again, that's a matchup that you potentially take advantage of, their weakness to me is more so in that slot role, which, again, I think is just going to fit Saint. Like Saint's cool because you can put him out wide and let him go work that matchup. But it's almost like, why do that if Jameson's going to cook? You know what I mean? Like in the past, it was like, okay, might as well. That's my best bet. But it's like this year, well, Jameson's winning, so I might as well not even play around with it. But I think, yeah, St. Brown's going to have a much bigger game in this one just because it felt like early, like I said, like things wouldn't feel fluid to me, and yet felt like he was like the center. It was like, okay, but we still want to get it to St. Brown just to get things rolling. But when things do become more fluid again, St. Brown's just going to thrive because of that, because he'll be kind of a natural fit. Again, I thought here, the LA Rams, man, they did a really good job. Like they played a defense that, you look at it the last season we played LA, they really slowed us down in that second half last year. Like they really slowed everything down in the offense, and they made us just find like a couple matchups that actually worked. I think that they just had a really good plan for that again in this one, and we just went to the hot hand, Jameson Williams. But yeah, I expect a big game this week. I think he'll have a big game. Maybe Jamo gets one over top, but this will be St. Brown's week.
Love it. Good stuff, Dion. We appreciate you so much, man, for joining us, especially on late notice. I hit you up today, and he responded right away. Said, I'm down. I'm joining for the boys. Go check out Dion's stuff, man. Great. You guys probably already do, but link will be in the description. Dion, we'll catch you soon, my friend. Appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate you. Give me too much credit, by the way. I definitely didn't respond immediately. So I was like, oh, snap, I got to respond to that. It's going to be too late. But I do appreciate y'all, man. Hey, thanks for having me, man.
I got you, man.
Appreciate you, Dion.
Check out Dion, man. Yes, show him some love. Even though the Mike, he was fighting an uphill battle, we got him. Hey,
adversity. Yeah,
that's all. Hey, that's all. He got back.
Second half adjustments. That's all it came down to.
What it is.
Overtime hit. He needed to make a play. He made a whole drive on it.